Hello, welcome to the Stadium of Light, where you can just about still see a bit of fog, which made this game a little bit difficult to cover for us guys high up in the press box in this stand above me, and you can probably hear the seagulls, which shows we're by the seaside here at Sunderland. It's finished Norwich City, Sunderland won, Norwich City won I should say, and it has finished in fairly dramatic style. Ivo Pinto grabbing an 89th minute equaliser for Norwich. But up to that point, things weren't looking great. It was a game with many missed chances. I'll get my warning in early as well. There's a tractor buzzing about putting the lights on the pitch, so I'm hoping that he's not going to make a return now that I've started filming, but he probably will. Yes, it was a game where Norwich had a big let-off in the first half. Grant Hanley conceded a penalty 5 minutes before half-time. That came after Wes Houlihan, a bit of loose play from Wes in midfield. It was his 350th appearance for Norwich tonight, but that wasn't a moment he wants to remember, and Grant then brought down Ashley Fletcher, I think it was, off the top of my head, and Aidan McGeady took the penalty and smashed it against the post, so that was a big let-off for Norwich just before half-time. Already in the half, Norwich had scored. Norwich had hit the post, if only they'd scored. Nelson Oliveira with a header from a James Maddison corner. Oliveira also missed another big chance. That one was Ivo Pinto teeing him up, and Oliveira pulled it across the face of goal when he really should have done better. Sunderland were okay, they had chances. There was one very, very early. James Husband came back into the team, and more on that in just a second. He slipped early on, or was still a bit asleep possibly in the first minute, and allowed Ashley Fletcher through, but Angus Gunn was sharp enough to get down and make the save. Second half, Norwich plenty more chances. Oliveira missed another one, and it was criminal really, because he had Mario Vrancic to his left screaming for the ball, and decided to shoot and fired it over the top left corner instead when Mario looked in a much better position. James Maddison then came into things. Oliveira sort of made up for the misses with unselfish play by crossing, cutting out the Sunderland defenders and the goalkeeper Lee Camp, formerly of Norwich of course, giving Maddison a good chance at the back post. But unfortunately, outside of his boot, he managed to hit the post instead of put it into an open net, which is very unlike James Maddison. Here comes the tractor. I thought he was going to come back for another go. Maddison, again, another good chance in injury time after Josh Murphy unselfishly played to him on the left of the box, but skied it. Camp also made a good save with his feet from Murphy. There were loads of chances for Norwich to win this one, but thankfully, Ivo Pinto, after Grant Hanley caused a bit of chaos in the box from a set piece, Pinto picked it up at the back post, no one marking him, and thrashed it low into the net from close range, and that saved a point. And just speaking to Daniel Farke after the game, he admitted that it was a crazy game, but he finished it with a smile on his face, I think was the line he used, because Ivo basically has bailed them out there. Norwich have had a few late goals this season. Of course, Tim Closer against Ipswich, Nelson Oliveira against Hull, both of those at home. But this was against a team who are bound for League One. Certainly now that they've managed to throw away 2 points later on here. I believe they're still 7 points from safety with 12 to play for, but they play Fulham and Wolves in their final 2 games. So not looking good for Chris Coleman's team. It was a pretty open game because they couldn't park the bus. They needed to go for it. But the main talking point really amongst fans online has been the lineup. Daniel Farke reverted to the team which started at QPR on Easter Monday, and of course lost 4-1. So James Husband came back in at left back for Jamal Lewis. Tim Closer came back in. Tim Closer dropped out, and Crystal Zimmerman came back in alongside Grant Hanley in the centre of defence. Alex Tettey was on the bench being rested. Wes Houlihan came back in for him, and Oliveira started up front instead of Dennis Treveni, who of course scored his first goal for Norwich at the weekend. And the guys parked the tractor right near us, which is just what I wanted. But so those 4 changes, it's always lawnmowers or tractors or something after the game. Those 4 changes have brought criticism for Daniel. He just justified it in his interview with Radio Norfolk, saying that Alex Tettey needed the rest, that they'd looked at Jamal Lewis's stats and that they felt that he needed a rest as well after his international involvement with Northern Ireland. Alex Tettey with the Cardiff game very much in mind on Saturday, tough home game. they can pretty much ruin Cardiff's automatic promotion hopes if they win at Carrow Road on Saturday. Shrabini, Daniel said, had a bit of cramp towards the end of the win over Villa on Saturday, and that was the reasons for the changes basically. But Lewis and Closer both came on at half-time. Houlihan was sacrificed as Norwich tried to be a bit more solid in the second half. Lewis came on for Husband, who didn't have the best game really, and it's still up for debate. This was the last midweek game of the season. Did players really need to be rested when there's only 4 games left? I suppose it's been a long season. The only man that really knows is Daniel Farker and his team of sports scientists. They're the guys that see them day in, day out, in training. So that was Daniel's justification for it, and we'll have to see whether that pays off on Saturday. Beat Cardiff, and you're all of a sudden it's a 3-game unbeaten run, and you've beaten Villa and Cardiff, and the season can still finish on a high. But that seems to be all we're talking about now. Can they finish the season on a high? And that's what's frustrating about the whole thing. But the season is over. But there we go. The players and Daniel at least left here with a smile on their face in the end after an entertaining game. To be fair, this wasn't one where we sat there and been bored. If anything, for those of you who are following the updates at PinkUn.com, it was difficult to keep up with everything because there was so many chances. But there we go, a 1-1 draw, and of course it is that Villa game that I just mentioned, the 3-1 win on Saturday, that this is in comparison to when you did have those other players starting the game, and Norwich looked so much better. But Josh Murphy wasn't able to reproduce the levels that he was on Saturday, and as ever, Norwich's midfield doesn't look as stable without Alex Tetty or Tom Tribal, it should be said, in it. Another little line just at the end of the press conference there that Daniel has revealed is that Marcus Edwards has now gone back to Tottenham. He said that was for personal reasons. Marcus had asked to go back, so whether that means he was unhappy at his lack of game time or whatever the reason, whether there's something more serious than that, we probably will never know. But his unsuccessful loan has finished here with a couple of appearances on the bench and one actual brief appearance on the pitch, which was in the Fulham game, wasn't it, on Good Friday. So Marcus Edwards may be the mini Messi, but he won't be doing it for Norwich City this season. Whether he'll return seems unlikely as well. Daniel has never really seemed convinced that Marcus is going to get into his squad, so that one is done and dusted for the season, and we won't see any more of him. One other little line, Wes Houlihan made his 350th appearance for Norwich tonight. That puts him up to 17th in the club's all-time appearances list. Probably didn't want to be getting subbed at half-time on a sort of a landmark night, but it didn't really happen for Wes, to be honest. He tried to get Norwich ticking over, but it didn't really happen. It didn't really happen for any of them. When you see James Maddison thumping the ball into the turf and the ball screwing wide and another chance going begging and seeing the sort of chances that he missed tonight, it's really not Norwich's night. But they escaped with a point. So 2 unbeaten. We'll go with that line and try and finish on a high as the team did on the pitch, thanks to Ivo Pinto, showing a bit of leadership as a captain should do, I suppose, and he really celebrated that. There was nearly 500 Norwich fans here tonight. Official attendance was just over 24,000, I think it was, and this place does hold 49,000, but I think that was probably including season tickets, because I'm pretty certain this place wasn't half full, and there didn't feel like a great deal of belief that they were going to survive, and that was a big blow for them to concede that late goal. But there you go, at least something for Norwich fans to be positive about after a fairly disappointing result. Right, reaction and Paddy's report can be found at PinkUn.com. We'll be with you ahead of the Cardiff game on Saturday.